stopped making sense. But in the college conferences, I kept seeing all these young comedians telling jokes to the college students. And I went, you know, there's a market for this. And as it proves to be 25 years later, yes, there is. Actually, Haywood Banks is performing at the club here in Louisville this week, and I first met Haywood when he was known as Stuart Mitchell, and he was a college coffee house performer. And that's about right about 25 years ago, long before he ever told his first joke on stage. And since then, we've had the opportunity to work with pretty much a who's who of the world of stand-up comedy. Two Louisville natives, Mark Klein and Bob Batch, who've been working with us for all these years, did their first national television show in Cincinnati in May of 1981 for Rupert Murdoch. And there was a young Tim Allen who was on that very same show. It was his first television experience as well. So we've had a chance to be able to meet pretty much everybody from the beginning. You mentioned Jay Leno. Well, Paul Reiser came here before the days of his movie career and long before Mad About You. We've had the opportunity to work with everybody from Jeff Foxworthy to Paula Poundstone, from Brett Butler to Ellen DeGeneres, from Jackie Martling from the Howard Stern Show.
Oh, yeah?
Down. It's been a crazy career.
So I mean, one thing that's unusual to me about comedy is that for every probably one person that comes in the comedy club, there's 10,000 fans at home that watch or get their comedy on cable TV.
It's really funny because watching comedy on TV, if you like it on TV, you really need to see it live. It's a stand-up comedy is something that is not meant to be done at home by yourself. Stand-up comedy is something that's meant to be done sitting in the middle of a crowded room where other people are having their laughter, which cues you and frees you to be able to laugh out loud. As my friend the Laugh Doctor Cliff Kuhn says, everybody will be healthier if you just make sure that you get at least 30 minutes a day of laughter in. And that's not necessarily 30 minutes all at once. That's a chuckle and a chortle here and a giggle and a titter there, but it needs to add up to at least a half an hour a day for you to keep yourself healthy.
Yeah, that's really, I agree with that, 100%. This Andrew Weil, this holistic doctor, he recommends people taking a news break as a therapeutic, just not to watch news for a couple weeks. But what I recommended was, and what I feel is much more appropriate, is along with Dr. Kuhn, is to actually actively take in about a half-hour comedy every day. It's just, for me, that's the minimum, just to halfway stabilize my crazy psyche.
Well, and it doesn't have to be a half an hour at one time. It can be allowing yourself to be amused by the things that happen in your daily life. But instead of sitting at home and watching comedy by yourself, where it's rare for you to laugh out loud, come into a club. Let it be dark. Even if it's smoky, it's perfectly okay. But have the group experience. This is definitely, the crowd psychology of humor is so important. And you want the anonymity of being in a crowd so that you can let yourself go until finally your cheeks hurt and your belly's stiff from laughing.
I'll tell you the truth. Somewhere I read something about the quality of entertainers that come in here. Is it although you have a lot of internationally known acts that come in here, you've established a reputation for quality in comedy, in comedy talent, comedic talent. And I know that I've personally come here to the comedy club, and I've laughed so hard that I thought I was going to die.
At least you die happy.
Yeah.
In comedy, the difference between killing your audience and dying on stage is a very fine line. But with a comedy club, the idea here is that, if people want to see famous comedians in concert, that's where they belong, in a theater. We're a nightclub. We're the breeding ground for the comedy stars of the future. Our job is to find and identify the funniest people in America long before they become household names, and to see that they get the stage time and the opportunity to be able to develop their talents, their careers, and their material. When Roseanne first went on the road in 1983, she didn't do very well. As a matter of fact, she wrote in her autobiography about being booed off stage in Bloomington, Indiana at a show of mine. And the reality was, she learned so much coming out on the road for the first time. She was in a spot where the material she developed in Denver and in Colorado Springs and in Salt Lake City, which had so much of a regional flair to it, once taken on the road out of that region, no longer had the punch. And she had to learn how to be able to talk to the nation, to the broad audience rather than the narrow audience that comes from one community. And our job is to help these people broaden out their careers, get enough experience in enough places to be able to go ahead and become a star.
And it seems like you've done that time and time and time again. I mean, you've developed a personal reputation.
Well, I operated an office in Los Angeles for several years, and that's really not where my heart is. It's where the entertainers should end up, those that are the geniuses should end up. But our job is to provide the space and the opportunity for them to develop their craft, to get good enough that the people in New York and Los Angeles want them. For instance, last week, the Star Search finalists. Well, Tim Northern was introduced to Star Search right here in this club, March 9th of this year. We did a showcase of 19 acts for Star Search, and as of here today, the end of May, 9 of the 19 acts that we put on for Star Search to look at have already appeared in the show, including Tim Northern, who has been the most recent finalist. And he'll be here over the 4th of July with Alex Ramundo, who is another Star Search finalist from the original run of Star Search. And so I'll have 2 Star Search losers working together on the same bill. But then again, Sinbad was a Star Search loser as well, so I guess they're in good company.
So going back a little bit now, is after you did this stint with the college entertainment and so forth, then you got into comedy. You worked at a number of different clubs in different cities and worked with talent, and then you opened your own club. Now, let me get this straight. In '87, you opened the comedy club in Louisville.
The club on Bardstown Road in the Mid-City Mall opened as the Funny Farm in August of 1987. And it was called the Funny Farm instead of Comedy Caravan because I had a partner to help me with the operation of the club. And as partners, the first decision we had to make was, what do we do with a name? And he operated comedy clubs under the name Crackers Comedy Club. And I produced comedy shows under the name Comedy Caravan. And the first decision the partners made was, we're not going to use either one of our names. So that's where we came up with the Funny Farm. And that's what this club opened at. And after the first 8 or 9 months, I realized that one of us had to buy the other one out. It was my hometown, so I bought him out, and we converted it to Comedy Caravan. I guess I realized that I had a problem when my partner had executed a logo for Funny Farm that encompassed a barn and silo with the word funny in lowercase letters and the name farm in uppercase letters. And my idea of the Funny Farm was Randall P. McMurphy and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, not a barn and silo. I didn't want to say Funny Farm, I wanted to say Funny Farm. And Comedy Caravan's been a much better set of graphics for us to work with, and the brand name is known far and wide. We produce shows all over the world. At this point, our office is upstairs here. We've packaged and produced roughly 300,000 comedy shows for something like 50 million people worldwide.
Whoa.
It's very interesting. In Lexington, Kentucky, at the world-famous Two Keys Tavern, we've had the same radio station sponsor our show, WKQQ, every Tuesday night for the last 22 years. We've been doing 2 shows in Bloomington, Indiana in the same room every Monday night for the last 20 years. The colleges are still there. I started a college series on Thursday nights at West Virginia University in the 1980s. It still runs every Thursday night of the school year.
Wow.
Comedy is everywhere.
And so you've had 2 parallel careers in comedy, so to speak. On the one hand, you're a owner and operator of a comedy club, or two comedy clubs.
Actually, Patrick, the club here was meant really for me to have as an investment and as a place to be able to hang out with my friends, the comedians, and to do some cool and different things comedically. It was never my interest, and still isn't my interest. If somebody would like to buy a comedy club, it's for sale. It's not that it doesn't make money, but I could do many more things with free time if I just worked with the talent. But realistically, producing shows, packaging shows, and promoting shows is my interest. A bar operation